Hey everyone, it's 3 o'clock, just a little bit after, and we are here with Nicole Hamm for a town hall on supporting local businesses. If you're joining us on Zoom, you know to mute your microphone. Oh, I'm scrolling too fast. And use the chat box for questions. If you don't know where those controls are, just hover on your screen. As well, we've got folks joining us on Facebook. So thank you for joining us on Facebook Live on Nicole's campaign page. Today's topic is supporting local businesses in District 4. And just this past week, Nicole and her campaign team ate at Johnny Angel's, which is in District 4, and she had a chance to talk with the local owners there on how to thrive in this current situation. As well, Nicole's been talking to other local businesses such as Dog Life Grooming, where she gets her dog groomed. And those local businesses are thriving during this time. And today she's going to be talking with a local business owner, Leah Green, who owns 2 locations of MBody Yoga on the south side in District 4, as well as in the beaches area, Neptune Beach. I'm going to stop the screen share and hand this off to Nicole.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Again, this is our weekly town hall, and we're going to be discussing our small local businesses and how we can support them, and also get some firsthand insight about how the COVID pandemic has affected our small businesses. One of my platforms as a candidate is running on economic empowerment with a special affinity towards small business, because those business owners are usually living local, have their kids in the school system. And I think that's really important to how we develop as a community. So I am so honored to have Miss Leah Green, who is the owner of MBody Yoga Studio, with us today. And I asked Leah to join us because I will go over some specific statistics, but being a woman-owned business and a minority-owned business is a combination that we see not as often as we would like. And Leah has done such a great job of managing and allowing this community and her industry to thrive under her leadership. And I think that she has some not only really great strategies that I've experienced firsthand about how to navigate a pandemic, but also, the knowledge of how we can better support them and what they truly need during this time. Leah got started in her yoga journey in 2012, and since then has, acquired MBody Yoga. And I'm so excited to be a part of whatever she gets into next, whether that's expansion in the state, in the city, or wherever else she goes. She works with athletes. Her husband is a golfer, so she's very much into the anatomy and just how we can take care of our bodies. And I think that we can all say that during this time, our physical health and well-being is important as we navigate these trying times. So Leah, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So I wanted to start with just kind of a couple of statistics about the small business industry in Florida, because it's kind of been a little bit of a whirlwind, right? We kind of came out of nowhere with this pandemic and like, where did it go? And the Florida State University did a study, and they saw that 15.2% of small businesses in Florida have shut their doors since the pandemic. That's a big number.
Yeah.
Considering how many that there are. And they're also noted that 46.7% had to lay off employees, and that more women-owned business owners were experiencing more stress around how to navigate the pandemic than male counterparts. And then also, just real fast, they said that 28.9% of small businesses had to file for funding, with only 26.8% of small businesses receiving those funds. So I can't even imagine what that was like for you. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey, how you had to navigate, especially in the South Side area, and with just kind of this reopening and reclosing and these capacity limits? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. It has been a whirlwinds. And girl, I am from South Carolina. I'm used to tornadoes, but I was not prepared for this. Like, yeah, I just got really just smacked in the face with COVID. And, I believe that, I believe that about women. And I don't say this to be an activist or anything, but women by nature are nurturers, and they're the ones who are usually solution solvers, like instead of instead of looking for a way out, I looked for a way through. And my lens has always been through the pandemic. When the pandemic is over, like how we get through and how we protect everyone. And as I saw layoffs, it was the first thing I thought was like, wow, like how am I going to continue to pay staff and to do what's right? And I think social responsibility, personal responsibility all kicked in really quick. And I was like, I need to create a solution. And what solutions looked like were limiting our capacity before we were told to limit capacity, and starting online before we ever closed down. So we reacted really quick to like trying to see what was going to work and the possibility that that would happen. And so we started with an iPad in the class, and it was like a stool for my home and an iPad that we had used to check people in, and we welcomed a Zoom into our family. So it quickly turned into, we need better audio, okay, let's use AirPods. And then that point I could hear whoever was out there, but like the rest of the class they weren't in the same experience. And from that we were like, let's try a laptop, see if we get better video. And then it was like, oh, Zoom creates that quality. So it was like all this education of things that like we were just completely new to. It turned into a ring light, a little webcam, and legitimate microphones and devices I had never heard of, like iRig and amplifiers, and I was just like, what is this? And so much. And we created a virtual studio, and we integrated the virtual studio and the regular studio. And I think just getting onto that platform really quick saved us from having to lay people off. And I think just having that creative mindset, I'm like, what can I do in this time? Where can I recreate what I've done to suit what's happening right now? And that quickly turned into spread it out, limited capacity. When they limited the capacity, the biggest worry was everyone's going to cancel membership. And how do we pay the rent if no one's doing membership? And then you touched around PPP loans, not to make this story like super long, but you touched around the loans. And so then it was like the first thing I asked my husband, who is also in finance. And I was like, what about these loans? And he was like, you don't qualify. You guys don't actually have employees, because you, like many fitness facilities, everyone is contracted. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, like, most of the people who work in these fitness facilities, they are contractors, they're personal trainers, they're, yoga teachers, Pilates instructors, group fitness instructors. And so they weren't considered employees, and therefore we didn't qualify for loans. So then it got even more about what can we offer? How can we stand apart, elevate the service on the people that are coming in? What can we provide after the storm so that people want to keep staying? And we were very fortunate to have a lot of people who wanted to continue to draft, take advantage of the virtual classes. We channeled our YouTube, social media, and we just kept going. We had less than 10 teachers out of a team of about 35 who chose to not teach during the pandemic, and we honored their choice. And that also provided us the ability to have a little reprieve financially. So instead of going into panic, it was like we were able to kind of just let that ride and then kind of move forward. We also learned to shift into the virtual platform, not only from the sake of classes, but how do we bring more out? And so workshops happen, boot camps happened. And so I think that was a huge shift for us really early on, working through the kinks and then getting a pretty solid platform that we have now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've done a great job. I actually, there is a local laundromat in District 4, which is next door to where I take my dog. And I posted about this town hall on Nextdoor, and she actually emailed a question to my personal email. I guess she found it while Googling me. And she was like, she kind of just brought it up. She's like, I don't know how to get my name out there to get people to keep coming. And I think that that's very tough, right? Because it's almost like a catch 22, because I know as a person, I want to support any and all the best way I can. But, if, God forbid I got laid off, or, I had children that I had to kind of think about their Duval homeroom and getting them set up and having that attention, just that publicity is tough. And you using social media is, I think, a great strategy. And like, is there any other strategy that like you would suggest about getting the name out there? I know one thing that I would like to do if elected is to kind of create a local guide of where our health and fitness places are, where local food eateries are, where our local laundromats and things are, so people can support those small businesses. But if we don't have that, then what do you do? Like, what is something small business owners can do to help promote their business?
I think right now, the biggest thing for us as small business and local business is to really go back into grassroots. Like, what did people do, before social media? They went next door and they got to know their neighbors, and they get to know who owns the business next door. What are they up against? What are their challenges? And I'm very fortunate in our Beaches location to be part of a community called the Beaches Town Center. And that community holds town meetings every month where all the business owners come together and we talk about what's working, what's not working, like what we're experiencing, what the clients are saying. And I would love for you to bring something like that to Southside. I'm very fortunate. The Taylors next door to us, we've created an incredible relationship with them. We, know the people who own the nursery next door. I actually know some of the neighbors who live behind us who used to be members or are members. And I think that's really important. And I think really getting to know people like you who are looking to make a difference and saying like, hey, my parking lot has flooded for 15 years. And like, I have to double park in there because I don't have a big parking lot. And then what if my, dumpster rolls away because it's, flooding out there, like, how do I get rid of that? When there's no sidewalks right there, how do we get sidewalks? And billboards being in the way of like our marketing. And I think there's just so many things that like we're not talking about. We don't know that other people are experiencing because Southside is a very different environment than the beach. And because it's so spread out, no one's bringing us together as local business. And if we're not going next door and getting to know the local tailor, butcher, the owner of Kisco's, the owners of, the other yoga studios down the street, then like we're really a disservice because they're the ones who are telling their clients like, oh yeah, we're all going to, but that yoga studio down the street, like they're incredible. They brought us free passes. They told us like we can, do this, or, they invited themselves over to do a meditation circle because we're working in a stressful environment and they thought it could bring it. I think those things, it's like, what can you offer to be in their space to show that you, one, are being a community, and two, that you're there, and especially for the restaurants, like if you get in my belly, you are in my brain, like get in my belly, bring me a sample of something, and ask us to send our customers over. Specifically with your campaign, we have an audience. We do have people who are coming into the studios, and sometimes on a Tuesday we can have 30 people in the studio at one given time, spread out and taking, social responsibility, but they get the option to look at our video boards and see the marketing there as well. And we advertise your campaign on that marketing board to just make sure people know. If you don't know, hey, did you know? And she might be your teacher. So at the other studio, we have local businesses that get on our board, and that's access to hundreds of people a week who get to see your business.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way, is like, get to know your neighbors.
Yeah.
Make
And
sure they know you're offering.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great way to bring the community together, right? It kind of goes back to bartering times. Like, what can you bring me to you, and like how can we work together, and vice versa. And I know that things are so hard right now, and just trying to navigate what you all, our businesses, are allowed to do, how much you're allowed to do, what capacity you're allowed to do. And so, like, what resources are you using to get that information? Are you using the small business chamber? Or are you just kind of watching the news and watching the governor's orders? Like, what what's kind of like your go-to for information about how to operate and what you're allowed to do as a business owner?
Well, it's really frustrating because I don't feel like their resources are just readily available. If I'm not searching for it, I'm not finding it. And if I am searching for it, I might still not find it. So to be quite honest, my husband has a really good friend who happens to be neighbors with Lenny Curry. And so I always ask him, can you ask your friend to ask and see if this is available? And, I really do use the news channels to find the executive orders and then click on the links that take me. And I try to read and scan, like, where am I, where am I in this? And it also is a shame that no one in the channels, it doesn't seem like anyone is talking to anyone. So the city isn't talking to the county and the county isn't talking to the state. And so therefore, when it comes to it, one studio is considered a fitness facility and the other studio is considered health and wellness center. So they fall under two different categories as well. And so because even one is the beaches and one is south side, they have different rules that they have to play by. And that becomes frustrating as well. So yeah, to answer your question, I Google search till I find the information, and it's either the news has been the most reliable has been the news. To go to one of the news channels and to search, like Monday with the bars opening and stuff, I was like, does that affect anything for me? And it was like, wow, that's the first I heard of it. And so then I start looking, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't affect me. So yeah, that's been challenging. And sometimes it's just like you said, it's like hearing somebody post something on social media or hearing the news say that something's happening, and then you're like, it is. I feel like as business owners, we should have had some type of heads up, like, hey, your business is going to be allowed to do this, or hey, we're considering this. Or I feel like there's definitely a disconnect there from and yet I still feel like some big businesses are somewhere getting information, like, how does Publix know a little bit ahead, or how does some of these chain things know, Walmart, Target, whatever. And yet us small business owners don't find out until the news post it, and we're fortunate enough to see it. So
Yeah, I kind of make the comparison a lot, is like we do have like that Southside Boulevard corridor with a lot of small businesses, but then you literally go 3 miles down the street and there's a town center with, it's like corporate headquarters, right? You got PetSmart, Publix, Total Wine, and it's like, there's a great little like liquor store right down the street, like there's a great little Peruvian place right down there. And I can sense that frustration. And again, one of my things is that empowering our small businesses and like giving them that transparency and accountability to have that streamlined conversation amongst, business owners. And you're absolutely correct. There should be some communication so that the little guys don't get left out, or they're able to, strategize, talk, and prepare. I think one of the best gifts that Jacksonville has is a business program called SCORE. And, it's not exactly in the district, but it is on the south side of town. And they're just such a resource. And I really think that if we could even use them to distribute information to small businesses or encourage them to promote other small businesses as they're empowering entrepreneurs and business owners, I think we could really start to see an uplift and a financial infrastructure and footprint in our community.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And I also think that there is something really powerful about recommendation. Yeah, I really do. And whatever business or whatever, there's something very powerful. And I think that that's something as small business owners, we can make an impact if we stop talking about the bigger people and we start talking about the smaller people. It's easy to get caught up in talking about the bigger people who have or don't have or are controlling. But what we're forgetting is the impact is coming from talking about the little people. So I think sometimes we create what we're stepping in sometimes. And I think we have to take that back too, is that like the power is in us. And we got to take it back. And it starts with electing officials like you, electing people like you who are going to come in and remind us that like, we're getting so caught up and all this out here, we're forgetting that we live right here. And change starts right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that I love about MBody is that there is also a model for someone to kind of franchise a studio. And I'd like to see more of that in small business. It's not always going to be family owned, right? Like if I have one son and that son doesn't want to do this, I don't have anywhere else to go. But like that franchise and that entrepreneurship, I think it's a great idea. And like, how do you go about that? And like, how do you promote that as a business for someone that does come from, I don't know, Nevada and move to Jacksonville, wants to have a yoga studio, sees that the South Side corridor is popping and it's great, and they want to, they see this great studio and they want to take one to Oakleaf. And, having that opportunity to not only empower you as an owner, but also empower them as an entrepreneur and leader, and eventually having that space.
Yeah, I think when it comes to franchising and licensing, it's a true partnership that gets built there. There's a trust that like you trust someone can carry the name of that brand and hold it well, so that it is something that platforms for everybody. But I don't even think it comes with money. I think it's about passion. And for me, the passion is to serve this community. And, we're in the midst of doing a third studio now. And I think about that all the time, is like, who wants to grow this business? And I think the biggest thing is that people have to know what they really want out of a business and what it means to be a business owner. And that, even without a pandemic, it takes a lot of work, and it can be really hard. And so I think when we talk about franchising and stuff, it's less about yoga and more about like the bones of what hold the business together. It's a platform that's been around. Hotspot was created because MBody was franchising, and now they have 4 Hotspot locations, 2 of which are licensed. So it's about creating a culture and inclusivity. And I think the reason that people see it as accessible, like I saw it as accessible, is because you can be in it. And I started with a Groupon and then became an owner, and so I walked in and I found more than I ever expected. And I think that's what we're up to I don't even want to say creating, that's who we're up to being. We're up to being of service. And for me, that might look like not taking a paycheck so that everyone else does. It might look like, signing a lease because the community might not go a couple miles further. It looks like letting somebody pay $20 because they can't afford to pay $89 this month. It looks like, you've been here for 10 years and you got laid off. Don't worry about it. It looks like there's a movement happening in the world, and I have a platform to use, and I have, teachers of color, and I have teachers of different backgrounds, and I'm using that. And to me, that's what it looks like. And that's who's going to be a franchisor or licensee owner, is someone who's up to bringing that into the world.
Yeah. And I think it's important that we are able to have that space, for people to create that, because you've got this one space, you're able to see all these different people and you're able to interact with. I've seen people leave class, go across the street to Blue Bamboo and have drinks with each other. And like, that's the type of community that I want to continue to thrive, especially in District 4. And I think what you're doing is phenomenal and fantastic. And I'm excited to see where it grows. Florida Chamber of Commerce actually did a small business survey, and I actually signed up to get the results, and the results will be in this fall about how small businesses have fared. And I'll share those with you when I get them, because I just thought that was so interesting, especially because a lot of businesses are women or minority owned, and they're kind of getting impacted on a bigger scale than we've seen from a lot of other businesses. So I'm really especially glad to have you speak as well.
Well, and Yelp actually just sent out a survey to business owners recently and said, would you like to put on there and advertise that you are minority owned? And I thought that was just a really great step in the right direction. And, I'm proud to be the only Black Mexican owned yoga studio in Jacksonville in the greater area. And I'm really proud of that, and one of the things that we don't steer away from, which, because you're a teacher at our studio, is the hard conversation and the heavy conversation. And whether that is, about a social movement, if that's about what needs to happen in our own communities, if it's about, whatever, mental, physical health, emotional, we don't steer away from those conversations. And yeah, I'm really proud of that. And I think that allows us to be super inclusive and a space for anybody. And I say all the time, if you have a body, then this is for everybody. You're good. You're in the right place.
I wanted to jump in real quick, ladies. Nicole, you mentioned some resources that have piqued some interest from people watching. One, you mentioned a small business center, and the other was SCORE. Can you provide any links for people watching, or any information either on SCORE, the small business program, and the small business center related to the Jax Chamber?
I absolutely can, and I'm happy to share that. I want all businesses to feel empowered, and I want them to thrive as we navigate this thing. So anything that I can do to support, I absolutely will. I have contacts at the chamber that I'm happy to share and happy to promote to anyone that would like them. And just kind of as a little bit of, but as we close, Leah, give us 3 things that people can do to support small local businesses.
I think one, post on your social media that you've been there, what you love about them. Like be meticulous and honest. Like, what is it that takes you there that others need to experience? That would be one. I think 2 is get to know your local business. Like if you catch yourself walking into Carrabba's, but Catullo's is right down the street, or you catch yourself going into, some, chain restaurant and there's a great local, like look for local. And 3, vote. You make a difference. Every single one of us, business owners or not, we make a difference. Vote. That would be my number 3. Actually, it might be my number 1. We could change the order, but it's a whole nother story.
Awesome. Well, I don't have any other questions. Is there anything on Facebook?
There was just the comments about, just maybe later you can drop in the Facebook chat the links for SCORE and the Small Business Center. That might be helpful. And just there's been comments about the importance of what Leah was talking about, which is this ability to pivot, to see, rather than to see disaster, to see opportunity. Where's the next opportunity, even in this moment that seems like very difficult. So there was a lot of gratitude and thanks for that recognition.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that this is also, one of the things that as a political candidate I can speak to is, I was not endorsed by the Jacksonville Chamber as a candidate, but we were able to come to the table and they were able to inform me about, what's going on in small businesses. And we were able to talk across the table about what they're up to and their vision of small businesses and what that looks like for me as a possible elected official and or a resident that wants to continue to do this work and be and support them. So, it takes just being up to something bigger than yourself, like you spoke to, Leah, and just also, caring about what's real. And what's real is that people are willing to put their lives out there and their passions out there and share it with the world. And we have an opportunity to be there for that and to support it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and thank all of you who are watching, and thank you, Nicole and Lisa for putting this together, and just highlighting and acknowledging MBody and the community. Thank you so much for the platform. Yeah, there's just so much value in these discussions. I'm honored to be a part of one, and I can't wait to tune in for the next. But thank you so much.
Awesome.
Awesome, you guys. I just want to jump in real quick and do some previewing of what's coming up. I stepped on Nicole a little bit there, but we do have phone banking right after this. It's a power hour to support Nicole. So if you're watching this and you're interested in supporting local, if you're interested in some of the ideas that Nicole and Leah have been talking about in this town hall, get involved. And one of the ways you can get involved is by helping a political campaign. you could phone bank. You could also get on your bicycle and ride through District 4. We have an upcoming event called Pedaling for Progress. It's a fundraiser for Nicole's campaign, as well as like a tour through District 4. And all these volunteer opportunities are spectacular for you to get involved in your local community and discover more about what it means to be local. To sign up, just go to NicoleHamm.com. You can donate there. You can also fill out the volunteer application. Both of those will set you in the loop to start receiving a weekly newsletter from the campaign. And then on November 3rd, be sure to vote. Encourage all your friends to vote. Make sure they're prepared and registered to vote already. They have the proper ID in hand that's not going to expire before November 3rd. I'm going to hand this back to Nicole for a final farewell. I know Leah's at the Jaguars game right now. She can't wait to get back in. So let me stop the share and hand it back.
Yeah, awesome. So just a final thanks to Leah. And, you know, we did just get a comment on Facebook, and this gentleman, Greg Newbill, said that, you know, he started with the Groupon and he's got to know Leah and many others. And he wrote a great quote down here that says, "Going local makes the community grow in their business and friendship." And that's what we're up to. That's what that's all about. And as your next Jacksonville City Council District 4 representative, I am so prepared to continue to encourage that and develop that between all of us and all of this community, and to really see it thrive and grow in the way that I know that it can. So thank you, Leah, for joining us. Thank you, Lisa, for moderating and hosting. And thank you to all that are watching or attending via Zoom. It is so great to connect with you all each week and to really get down and dirty into what we need to do and how we can get to work for you. And on November 3rd, we're going to make that happen together. So stay tuned. I hope to see you on our Power Hour phone banking, and have a great rest of your Sunday. Go Jags.